This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Colin McRoberts. The Last Man by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, Volume 1, Chapter 5. When we arrived at Windsor, I found that Raymond and Perdita had departed for the Continent. I took possession of my sister's cottage, and blessed myself that I lived within view of Windsor Castle. It was a curious fact that, at this period, when by the marriage of Perdita I was allied to one of the richest individuals in England, and was bound by the most intimate friendship to its chiefest noble, I experienced the greatest excess of poverty that I had ever known. My knowledge of the worldly principles of Lord Raymond would have ever prevented me from applying to him, however deep my distress might have been. It was in vain that I repeated to myself, with regard to Adrian, that his purse was open to me, that one in soul, as we were, our fortunes ought also to be common. I could never, while with him, think of his bounty as a remedy to my poverty, and I even put aside hastily the offers of supplies, assuring him of a falsehood, that I needed them not. How could I say to this generous being, maintain me in idleness, you who have dedicated your powers of mind and fortune to the benefit of your species? Shall you also misdirect your exertions, as to support in uselessness the strong, healthy, and capable? And yet I dared not request him to use his influence, that I might obtain an honourable provision for myself, for then I should have been obliged to leave Windsor. I hovered for ever around the walls of its castle, beneath its enshadowing thickets. My sole companions were my books and my loving thoughts. I studied the wisdom of the ancients, and gazed on the happy walls that sheltered the beloved of my soul. My mind was nevertheless idle. I pored over the poetry of old times. I studied the metaphysics of Plato and Berkeley. I read the histories of Greece and Rome, and of England's former periods, and I watched the movements of the lady of my heart. At night I could see her shadow on the walls of her apartment. By day I viewed her in the flower garden, or riding in the park with her usual companions. Methought the charm would be broken if I were seen, but I heard the music of her voice and was happy. I gave to each heroine of whom I read her beauty and matchless excellence. Such was Antigone, when she guided the blind Oedipus to the grove of the Eumenides, and discharged the funeral rites of Polynices. Such was Miranda in the unvisited cave of Prospero, such Haidee on the sands of the Ionian island. I was mad with excess, passionate devotion, but pride, tameless as fire, invested my nature, and prevented me from betraying myself by word or look. In the meantime, while I thus pampered myself with rich mental repast, a peasant would have disdained my scanty fare, which I sometimes robbed from the squirrels of the forest. I was, I own, often tempted to recur to the lawless feats of my boyhood, and knock down the almost tame pheasants that perched upon the trees, and bend their bright eyes to me. But they were the property of Adrian, the nurslings of Idris, and I, although my imagination, rendered sensual by privation, made me think that they would better become the spit in my kitchen than the green leaves of the forest. Natheless, I checked my haughty will, and did not eat, but supped upon the sentiment, and dreamt vainly of such morsels sweet as I might not waking attain. But at this period the whole scheme of my existence was about to change. The orphan and neglected son of Verney was on the eve of being linked to the mechanism of society by a golden chain, and to enter into all the duties and affections of life. Miracles were to be wrought in my favor. The machine of social life pushed with fast effort backward. Attend, O reader, while I narrate this tale of wonders. One day, as Adrian and Idris were riding through the forest with their mother and accustomed companions, Idris, drawing her brother aside from the rest of the cavalcade, suddenly asked him what had become of my friend Lionel Verney. Even from this spot, replied Adrian, pointing to my sister's cottage, you can see his dwelling. Indeed, said Idris, and why, if he be so near, does he not come to see us, and make one of our society? "I often visit him," replied Adrian, "but you may easily guess the motives which prevent him from coming where his presence may annoy any one among us." "I do not guess them," said Idris, "and such as they are, I would not venture to combat them. Tell me, however, in what way he passes his time? What is he doing and thinking in his cottage retreat?" "Nay, my little sister," replied Adrian, "you ask me more than I can well answer; but if you feel interest in him, why not visit him? He will feel highly honoured, and thus you may repay a part of the obligation I owe him, and compensate for the injuries fortune has done him." "I will most readily accompany you to his abode," said the lady; "not that I wish either of us should unburthen ourselves of our debt, which, being no less than your life, must remain unpayable ever. But let us go. To-morrow we will arrange to ride out together, and proceeding towards that part of the forest, call upon him." The next evening, therefore, though the autumnal change had brought on cold and rain, Adrian and Idris entered my cottage. They found me curious like, feasting on sorry fruits for supper; but they brought gifts richer than the golden bribes of the Sabines, nor could I refuse the invaluable store of friendship and delight which they bestowed. Surely the glorious twins of Latona were not more welcome, when, in the infancy of the world, they were brought forth to beauty and enlighten this sterile promontory, than were this angelic pair to my lowly dwelling and grateful heart. We sat like one family around the hearth. Our talk was on subjects unconnected with the emotions that evidently occupied each, but we each divided the other's thoughts, and as our voices spoke of indifferent matters, our eyes, in mute language, told 1,000 things no tongue could have uttered. They left me in an hour's time. They left me happy, how unspeakably happy! It did not require the measured sounds of human language to syllable the story of my ecstasy. Idris had visited me. Idris I should again and again see. My imagination did not wander beyond the completeness of this knowledge. I trod air. No doubt, no fear, no hope even, disturbed me. I clasped with my soul the fullness of contentment, satisfied, undesiring, beatified. For many days Adrian and Idris continued to visit me thus. In this dear intercourse, love, in the guise of enthusiastic friendship, infused more and more of his omnipotent spirit. Idris felt it. Yes, divinity of the world, I read your characters in her looks and gesture. I heard your melodious voice echoed by her. You prepared for us a soft and flowery path. All gentle thoughts adorned it. Your name, O love, was not spoken, but you stood the genius of the hour, veiled and time, but no mortal hand might raise the curtain. Organs of articulate sound did not proclaim the union of our hearts, for untoward circumstance allowed no opportunity for the expression that hovered on our lips. O my pen, haste thou to write what was before the thought of what is. Arrest the hand that guides thee. If I lift up my eyes and see the desert earth, and feel that those dear eyes have spent their mortal lustre, and that those beauteous lips are silent, their crimson leaves faded, for ever I am mute. But you live, my Idris, even now you move before me. There was a glade, O reader, a grassy opening in the wood. The retiring trees left its velvet expanse as a temple for love. The silver Thames bounded it on one side, and a willow, bending down, dipped in the water its naiad hair, dishevelled by the wind's viewless hand. The oaks around were the home of the tribe of nightingales. There am I now. Idris, in youth's dear prime, is by my side. Remember, I am just 22, and 17 summers have scarcely passed over the loved of my heart. The river, swollen by autumnal rains, deluged the lowlands, and Adrian, in his favourite boat, is employed in the dangerous pastime of plucking the topmost bough from a submerged oak. Are you weary of life, O Adrian, that you thus play with danger? He has obtained his prize, and he pilots his boat through the flood. Our eyes were fixed on him fearfully, but the streams carried him away from us. He was forced to land far lower down, and to make a considerable circuit before he could join us. He is safe, said Idris, as he leapt on shore, and waved the bough over his head in token of success. We will wait for him here. We were alone together. The sun had set, the song of the nightingales began, the evening star shone distinct in the flood of light, which was yet unfaded in the west. The blue eyes of my angelic girl were fixed on this sweet emblem of herself. "How the light palpitates," she said, "which is the star's life! Its vacillating effulgence seems to say that its state, even like ours upon earth, is wavering and inconstant. It fears